Aku So Duo. Welcome to the second language lesson for the advanced learner in Somali. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite resources I like to use to help learn the Somali language, and that is this book here. It's a dictionary of Somali verbs in every context. So this book, a really helpful tool. You can find it on Amazon for about $10 if you want to purchase one for yourself. But it shows you some common verbs in Somali. It's not a complete list of all the verbs, but a lot of the common ones. And then it has some charts in the back that help you to conjugate the verbs. So it helps you to start building your own sentences. So today I'm just going to go over the different 5 classes of verbs. There are as well 5 irregular verbs in Somali. And then on the next video, I hope to show you guys how to start conjugating those verbs, at least the first few classes of verbs, and building your own sentences. So I'll show you how this book works. In the back of the book here, there's Somali verbs and conjugation tables, and it takes you through those verb classes 1 through 5, as well as the 5 irregular verbs that I was talking about. So the 5 different verb classes in Somali are as follows. So the easiest form of a verb is conjugate 1, is what they call it. So it's conjugate 1, conjugate 2a, conjugate 2b, conjugate 3a, conjugate 3b. So that's how they kind of classify the different styles of verbs in Somali. So the first one is the easiest. So conjugate 1 of a verb in Somali means that the Somali verb in its infinitive form, so before it's conjugated, always will end in a consonant. So these verbs, a lot of us are familiar with hearing these verbs a lot. The example it gives you in the book is the verb ken, and that means to bring. So K-E-E-N. That's a very common verb that we use, but it always ends in that consonant. So that's the first conjugate of the 5 different classes of verbs. The second conjugate verb will always end in a vowel, a single vowel, for the 2a class of verb. So the example they give in the book is kari, and that means to be cooking something. So kari always ends in a vowel for verb 2. Verb 2b will always end in a double vowel. An example of that here is same, or to make something, or to do something. Could be used either way. So same, S-A-M-E-E. So it ends in a double vowel. So verb class 1 ends in a consonant, verb class 2a ends in a vowel, verb class 2b ends in a double vowel. Now for the last 2 classes of verbs in Somali, these ones are a little bit confusing, and I'm not certain how they always end. But for verb class 3a and 3b, they usually always end in an O or an OW. Without this book, it would be hard for me to know which one is in class A or B. Might need to ask a Somali speaker, a native. But as usually 3A ends in an O or OW, and then 3B ends in an O. So those are kind of a quick overview of the different 5 classes of verbs. And then the irregular ones are on here as well, which we won't go into. But for example, if you wanted to state a command in Somali, if you wanted to tell someone to do something, you can just use that infinitive of the verb and say it as a command. So sometimes we hear these even when we come into people's house. They say sogal. Gal is the verb to enter, and that's in its naked form before it's conjugated. So sogal. Enter, or please come in. Another one we hear when we come into a house is fadi or fadiso. Fadi is verb class 2, so it ends in that vowel, and that just means to sit. So fadi, you can just make that command, use it without translating it to tell someone to sit down. Another one that we hear is ka. That means to get up or to go. Ka. K-A-C. That would be a verb class 1 because it ends in that consonant. And then another one we say is bah. That means to go. So you can use any of these verbs without conjugating them to make a command to tell someone to do something. So that is our lesson for today. On the next video for the advanced, we'll go into how to conjugate verb class 1 in the present tense and build a sentence in that. So look forward to that next month.